Your Excellency, sir, we'll start now. I'll
Okay.
just begin.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to Pune International Center's Ambassador Speak series. I'm Abhay Vaidya, Associate Director. This year marks the golden jubilee of the independence of Bangladesh, and we are honored to have with us today His Excellency Mr. Mohammad Imran, High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India. He will be speaking to us on Bangladesh India relations at 50. I shall briefly state the flow of the program. Pune International Center's President, Dr. R. A. Mashelkar, will deliver the welcome address, followed by the opening remarks by Mr. Vijay Gokhale, former Foreign Secretary. We will then have the address by His Excellency, followed by a question and answer session. May I now request Dr. Mashelkar to kindly present his welcome address.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you,
Mashelkar,
Abhay.
please.
Thank you. His Excellency, Mr. Mohammad Imran, the Honorable High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India, Dr. Vijay Gokhale, Ambassador Vijay Gokhale, distinguished members of Pune International Center, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to you all as we witness the third event in our new series, Ambassador Speaks. I'm not tired of reminding ourselves that Pune International Center is actually an international center in Pune. So we hold dialogues that are international in character. A brilliant example is the Asia Economic Dialogue that we held in February 2020, and now that is being hosted in February 2021. We expect a lineup of several distinguished speakers from around the world. Someone had said that this Asian Economic Dialogue could be the next Davos of Asia. So with quite confidence, we will work hard to make that dream come true. It is a part of this internationalization of our programs that we launched this new series, Ambassador Speaks. The idea was essentially to learn about the new global geopolitical dynamic, to learn about the view of India as seen through the lens of great global thought leaders, and also to see as to what is it that we could do together to create a better world. The series was launched by the Ambassador of France, followed by Ambassador of Republic of South Korea. It is my honor and my privilege to welcome this evening His Excellency Mr. Mohammad Imran, the Honorable High Commissioner of Bangladesh, for the third dialogue in the series. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate His Excellency on the 50th year of liberation of Bangladesh. We are proud in India that India had some role to play in this liberation, but we are even more proud to see the amazing progress that Bangladesh has made despite several adversities it has faced. It had its own shares of beginning with abject poverty, natural disasters, one of the biggest refugee crises, you name them all. But despite these adversities, they rose high. They were not deterred by it. From mass starvation in 1974, Bangladesh achieved near self-sufficiency in food production. Its per capita income rose nearly 3/4 in the last decade. The number of people living in extreme poverty went down by half. The watershed Rana Plaza disaster in 2013, when a multi-story garment factory complex collapsed, their garment industry had hit a new low. But look at today. Today, Bangladesh is a global powerhouse in garment manufacturing, being number 2 to China. And His Excellency, who knows, you may become number 1, and who knows, you may become number 1 soon. All our best wishes are with you. We are very, very proud. What I admire most are the vast strides that Bangladesh has made in terms of dramatically improving indicators such as infant mortality, child immunization, female literacy, access to improved sanitation, and total fertility rate, even longevity, moving from 46.5 years at the time of liberation to 72 years. I think these are phenomenal accomplishments. In fact, with all humility, I would say we in India can learn from you, from Bangladesh. Bangladesh and India have been natural partners in progress. And these partnerships have been in political interactions, strategic and security cooperation, trade, transport, connectivity, development partnership, humanitarian aid and disaster relief, training and capacity building, and most importantly, people-to-people exchange. On all these fronts, it's very heartening to see the great progress that has been made by Bangladesh over the past 50 years. Bangladesh has been at India's heart, not only as a great neighbor, but as a great friend. Our Honorable Prime Minister declared early in his first term that he would follow a neighborhood first policy, and Bangladesh was the first among the neighbors. Bangladesh is now India's biggest trade partner in South Asia, and India the second biggest trade partner of Bangladesh. In fact, our bilateral trade, I'm happy to see, has tripled over the last decade. I'm told that there are more than 60 ongoing bilateral institutional mechanisms between India and Bangladesh in various fields, including security, trade and commerce, power and energy, transport and connectivity, science and technology, and so on. While ending my brief remarks, I must also add some reflections on my personal visit to Bangladesh as a World Bank expert around 10 years ago. My visit was essentially to look at the restructuring and reforms of the educational and research institutions. And the abundance of affection with which I was received, I still remember that. We created a new blueprint for building a next generation innovation ecosystem for Bangladesh, including a strong intellectual property generation, valorization and management system. I found enormous open-mindedness to new ideas, and all the key recommendations from our report were implemented. His Excellency, as I told you, I remember my public lecture in a packed town hall where 4 ministers were present, that of education, science and technology, industry and finance. And yes, finance too, as the finance minister told, and as you said, he was a very senior finance minister. He told me at the end that he wanted to learn economics of knowledge. I trust that this humility, this openness to learning, this high level of aspiration, this eagerness to change is what makes Bangladesh special. Your recent past, His Excellency, has been great, and I'm quite confident the future will be even brighter. At the end, I again say, while warmly welcoming you again, His Excellency, how grateful we are at PIC to you for accepting our invitation to our Ambassador Speaks program. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mashelkar. May I now request our former Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vijay Gokhale, to please make the opening remarks.
Thank you. Your Excellency, High Commissioner Mohammad Imran, Dr. Mashelkar, President of the Pune International Center, Dr. Kelkar, Vice President of the Pune International Center, and all those who are listening in today. It is our great privilege to have the High Commissioner of Bangladesh speak to us in this very historic year for Bangladesh. Many of us who were in school or college at that time can still vividly recall when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in Parliament on the 16th of December 1971 declared that Dhaka is the free capital of a free country. And ever since Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and up to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, all Prime Ministers have strived to ensure that the relationship with Bangladesh becomes stronger, more durable and more diverse. Therefore, it is with great pleasure today that we have the High Commissioner of Bangladesh who has agreed to speak with all of us in order to give us an understanding of what the next 50 years looks like for Bangladesh and for Bangladesh's relations with India. The High Commissioner himself is no stranger to India. He has been Deputy High Commissioner in Kolkata, and those of us who have served in the diplomatic service know that the Bangladesh Deputy High Commission in Kolkata is probably bigger than many of the embassies that Bangladesh has abroad. It's like an embassy within an embassy. So his appointment as High Commissioner to New Delhi would have come as no surprise given his background and his experience in dealing with issues relating to India-Bangladesh relations. High Commissioner, thank you for accepting our invitation. We are indeed very grateful, and we are looking forward to listening to your address on India and Bangladesh at 50. I invite you, High Commissioner, to speak to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Mashelkar, Distinguished President of Pune International Center, Dr. Vijay Gokhale, Mr. Vijay Gokhale, former Foreign Secretary and Chair of today's session, distinguished members of PIC, Mr. Abhay Boyddo, Mr. Participants, guests, good evening to you all, and also a belated Happy New Year 2021. It's an honor and privilege for me to be with you this evening. First of all, let me register my deep appreciation to Pune International Center, especially to the distinguished President, Vice President, and also to Ambassador Gokhale for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share our thoughts on Bangladesh-India relations. It would have been great if we could have an opportunity to meet personally in the historic city of Pune, but the pandemic has forced us to bring changes in our everyday life. The new practices and norms like this virtual platform to meet and interact have changed the interpersonal as well as the international relations. Though I'm going to speak on today's topic at length from our perspective, I look forward to learn from your viewpoints also and insights from the audience or those who are participating during our discussion. I understand that this will be an academic discussion of exchange of views following this Chatham House rules. Dear friends, in the past, disease outbreaks and pandemics have sometimes changed the course of history and often threatened the entire civilization. But with this high level of medical, technological advancement today, we must not allow this menace to defeat us. We congratulate the people and government of India to be a pioneer in the scientific innovations against COVID and for undertaking the massive inoculation program that has started last week throughout India. Many countries of the world, especially the neighbors, are eagerly waiting and counting on India to save lives in their respective societies. We welcome the initiatives of the government of India to send vaccines to other countries, including Bangladesh. If we join hands, work together, and face this challenge collectively by sharing knowledge, expertise, and resources, I'm sure that we would be able to reverse this course very soon. Esteemed friends, Bangladesh became an independent country in 1971 after decades of struggle for autonomy, followed by movement for independence, and finally, a 9-month-long war led by our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We're grateful to the government and people of India for the all-out moral and material support that we received during those difficult days in 1971. This year, we are going to observe the Golden Jubilee of our glorious independence, and this is also the 50th year of Bangladesh-India diplomatic relations. This year is also a special year for us, as we have been observing 2020 and 2021 as Mujib Borsho or Mujib Year to celebrate the birth centenary of Bangabandhu, our father of the nation, who remains as an inspiration to the oppressed people of the world to fight against inequality and tyranny. India has joined hands with Bangladesh to celebrate the achievements and contributions of Bangabandhu to the mankind, and the two countries have taken several joint programs to be held throughout the year. It is no surprise that Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji was invited as a chief guest during the inauguration of Mujib Borsho in March last year, which he attended in virtual mode due to the COVID situation, and has now again been invited to visit Bangladesh to join us to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of our independence this year. People of Bangladesh are eagerly waiting to welcome the Indian Prime Minister on 26th of March this year in Dhaka. According to the academicians and political observers, Bangladesh-India relations might have seen some fluctuations during the last half century at the official level. But people-to-people relations and contacts remain close throughout these years. Being next door neighbors, Bangladesh and India are linked with common past, history, heritage, literature, traditions, customs, faith, and many other common elements. A large number of people in India can trace their ancestry in Bangladesh and vice versa. And still, there are close family members on both sides of the border who act as bridges between the communities. There are mutual dependencies so far the resources and their utilizations are concerned. People of different faith have their holy places on both sides of the border, which they visit regularly. Many such uniqueness and specialty really make us different from other neighbors. It cannot be categorized as a prototype neighborhood relation. Dear friends, often our conceptions and understandings are based on common and popular preconceived ideas about the subject due to shortage of information, misinformation, or difference of interpretation. In this context, let me remember the great philosopher and teacher of the teachers, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, who was the first vice president and second president of India. He defended and broke many popular myths about his great religion, Hinduism, against uninformed Western criticism, and tried to build a philosophical bridge between Eastern and Western understanding of diverse faiths. I personally believe that to understand the relations between Bangladesh and India properly and more comprehensively, we may need to revisit a little bit our history, geopolitics, pattern of economic activities, both past and present. I want to take a few minutes to discuss the issue from a different perspective, which may be a small deviation from the popular narrative. Let us look at our relative locations. It is so unique that if you draw the map of India, you already have drawn the 94% land border of Bangladesh. In one hand, Bangladesh is almost encircled by India in the west, north, and the east. On the other hand, large part of Indian territory is located in the north and east of Bangladesh. Physical connectivity with the mainland is an issue here, making Bangladesh a big factor for the development and security of this region. Bangladesh is situated on the deltas of large rivers originating from Himalayan ranges, the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and tributaries of Meghna that passes through Indian territory. Almost all rainwater in the southern part of Himalayas flows through Bangladesh into the Bay of Bengal. About 90% of the catchment area is outside its border. Out of 57 common international rivers, 54 are coming from India, and that makes water sharing an important issue in our bilateral relations. Historically, Bangladesh has always been a part of great civilizations of South Asia. South Asia, I mean the vast area to the east of Hindu Kush and south of Himalayas. The same dynasties, the same rulers who dominated this land from the Mauryas to Guptas, to Delhi Sultans or Mughals, even to the British, had also a say on the destiny and the fate of the people of Bangladesh, or today's Bangladesh. In these areas of governance, culture, economy, the ancestors of today's Bangladesh contributed to the glory, to the brilliance and grandeur of South Asian Peninsula. With their origin of Pala and Sena dynasties, with their intellectual inputs through Buddhist learning centers and the greatest scholars, with their fine cotton fabrics, terracotta handicrafts, shipbuilding industries, and abundance of crops. The architecture and iconographic ideas of Bengal was replicated in many places in the Far East. It was a stopover point for traders going to the Far East. All such contributions make Bangladesh a rightful successor state of the great empires of civilizations of South Asia. We are part of that legacy. The Dhaka-based Sube Bangla had an extended territory that included today's Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, Assam, Meghalaya, and few other northern states of India today. During British rule, the same area was part of Bengal presidency. Even in the recent past, their role to fight the colonial powers was remarkable. The Bengal province of British India, which included today's Bangladesh, had given birth to people like Titumir, Haji Shuriatullah, Khudiram, Surjo Sen, who inspired millions of people to fight for independence. Inspired by their leaders, scholars, intellectuals, the people of Bengal shook the empire with patriotism, courage, and revolutionary zeals. Therefore, for about 2 millennia or even more, we worked hand to hand with the rest of today's South Asian nations, sharing our joys and sorrows, culture and traditions, faith and social practices. They have similar or same genetic footprints, so far their ideas, thought process, and outlook towards life are concerned. So the relations between Bangladesh and India ought to be special. Dear friends, kindly allow me to very briefly recap our recent history that may help to understand our relations with India that started in the battlefield. You know that the partition of India in 1947 made us province of Pakistan thousands of kilometers away from the bigger western wing. Better economic condition, larger size, political cloud put the western wing into the driving seat, though the eastern wing was home to 56% of the total population. From the very beginning, there was political, economic, and cultural discrimination. The historic language movement took place to reassert the cultural and linguistic identity. This movement became a turning point in our history. In 1960s, Awami League emerged as political voice of Bengalis under the leadership of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. When the verdict of 1970 elections, in which Awami League got landslide victory, was ignored and Pakistan Army started brutal military assault on civilians, Bangabandhu declared independence on 26th of March 1971. He was arrested and was taken to West Pakistan. The remaining leaders formed the government in exile, later based in Calcutta, today's Kolkata, with Bangabandhu as the president in absentia, and the government in exile conducted the War of Liberation. The War of Liberation started with the resistance of Mukti Bahini, made up of about 30,000 Bengali regular soldiers who left different armed forces of Pakistan to join the war, and more than 100,000 guerrilla, especially young students. India extended all moral and material support and sheltered about 10 million Bengali refugees. The freedom fighters of Mukti Bahini cornered the Pakistan army in such a way that in few months they had little activities outside the cantonments and military camps. On 21st of November 1971, India and Bangladesh forces were put under a joint command structure led by Lieutenant General Jagdish Singh Arora of Eastern Command of India. And this force came to be known as Mitra Bahini, Allied Forces. Decisive victory came on 16th of December 1971 with the emergence of independent Bangladesh when Pakistan Army surrendered to this joint command in Dhaka. After the independence, the real tone of our bilateral relations was set by the leaders of the two countries, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Bangabandhu was freed from Pakistan jail and returned home on 10th of January 1972. Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi played a big role in freeing Sheikh Mujib from Pakistan captivity. The leader, on the way to Dhaka, stopped over in Delhi. Both the President V.V. Giri and Prime Minister were present at the Palam airport to receive the president of the new country in bitter cold of January in Delhi. In his remarks, Bangabandhu said he had decided to stop over in Delhi for this is the least he can do to pay personal tribute to the best friends of his people, to the people of India. During the next 10 weeks, the two leaders met 2 more times. Bangabandhu came to Calcutta on 6th of February when Mrs. Gandhi went down to West Bengal from Delhi to welcome him. Ms. Gandhi paid her first ever visit to Bangladesh on 17th of March 1972. This was incidentally the birthday of Bangabandhu, and Mrs. Gandhi declared withdrawal of Indian forces from Bangladesh soil within March. That was the beginning of relations between the two countries at the level of leadership. It was marked by mutual trust, reciprocal respect, eagerness to fulfill the commitments. And today, we pay our deep respect to these leaders who laid the foundation of our bilateral relations. The newborn Bangladesh started a journey as an independent nation with a ravaged economy, all physical infrastructure destroyed, inheriting not a single penny as a successor state. And when we are trying to recover and find the right path for development against all the odds, we lost our beloved independence leader at a military coup in 1975, August. Bangladesh became a synonym of poverty, malnutrition, food shortage. The economy became crippled by natural disasters like flood, cyclone every other year. There was also governance and management issues. During the following years, the conversations surrounding Bangladesh were dominated by poverty, sufferings, natural calamities, AIDS, donations. But dear friends, before we look into the individual issues, I would like to brief you about the recent developments in Bangladesh, though Dr. Mashalkar has already thrown some light on it. We have overcome the situation I just mentioned. The people of Bangladesh have overcome various economic and social challenges with enormous courage and determination, especially during the last decades. They have strived and succeeded to bring vibrancy in the economy with improvement of social indicators and continued expansion of its infrastructural facilities. Today, when people talk about Bangladesh, it is more about nation's remarkable tale of people's resilience and entrepreneurship for achievements in health and education, women empowerment, digitization, economic growth, and so on. Today, Bangladesh is an economy of about $300 billion, per capita income of around $2,000, GDP growth rate of 8.15% in 2019, and in 2020, our GDP grew more than 5%, despite the pandemic, where many countries are suffering from negative growth. Our foreign currency reserve is quite healthy right today. It is about $43 billion, with which we can meet the import expenditure for 10 months. Bangladesh apparel industry, as already we have told, it's the second largest one, fourth largest producer of rice. We're almost self-sufficient in poultry and dairy production. And we produce more or less sufficient food for our 160 million people. Life expectancy already, we have told, it's raised to 73 years. 95% of the population have access to electricity. We are self-sufficient in pharmaceutical products. And Bangladesh has now more than 150 million mobile phone users, and more than 100 million people are connected to internet. The success stories of Bangladesh are endless, we'll say. Despite challenges, Bangladesh is moving forward. The current leadership has proved that with the right approach, strong will, and correct mindset, the most difficult targets can be achieved. And it has been achieved despite a very unique demographic situation in Bangladesh. With more than 160 million people living in an area of 150,000 square kilometers, Bangladesh is the most densely populated country after the city-states. It's the 8th largest country of the world in terms of population, and about 1,200 people living every square kilometer. Just as a comparison, it will be like putting the entire population of Germany, France, and Netherlands in half of Italy. I repeat, it's like putting the entire population of Germany, France, and Netherlands in half of Italy. And in terms of, if you look at US, half of US population in the state of New York. So, and we can also have Indian comparison. We're a little bit smaller than Odisha, but 4 times more population. So when we talk about any aspect of our country, be it economic, social, political, or governance issue, or our relations with our neighbor, we must remember this enormous demographic challenge or advantage of Bangladesh. I'll now stop for a few minutes. Let me allow to show you a short video to see how Bangladesh is doing today. Is exactly the same thing what I have just told. It's a bit old, prepared in 2018. The indicators have further improved during the last couple of years. And I'll return to our discussion right after the video.
Abhay, are we running the video?
We're trying
Yes,
to
sir,
run it from our side.
Okay.
Being run from their side.
Abhay's sound is missing.
The technical team at the High Commission's office may please note the sound is missing. There's no audio with the video. There is no audio as of now. Can we rerun the video, please? We are not getting the audio, sir.
Login our
adjustment এখানে দাঁড়ান এখানে কি ওপেন শেয়ার অল প্যানেলস অনলি
ছিল ঠিকই ছিল
আচ্ছা ওটা তো হ্যাঁ স্যার শেয়ার দিলাম এটা না share sound is it এবার হবে স্যার হ্যালো
From a war-torn, ravaged nation on the brink to launching its own satellite in under 50 years, Bangladesh is the story of a nation that has pulled itself up from the ground to shoot for the very stars. The fire sparked by the vision of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, united a country of a diverse people and creed in 1971 and continues to shine the path towards the country's future.
এবারে সংগ্রাম আমাদের মুক্তির সংগ্রাম এবারে সংগ্রাম স্বাধীনতার সংগ্রাম
Today, under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh has adopted a long-term plan to transform the country into a knowledge-based middle-income economy by 2021. It also aspires to become a developed country by 2041, modeled after Bangabandhu's dream of a Sonar Bangla or Golden Bengal. Bangladesh has worked towards development from within, achieving, often ahead of time, all the Millennium Development Goals. Drawing inspiration from its success, the country is currently implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. Last 40 years, Bangladesh dramatically increased its food grain production, becoming the 4th largest producer of rice in the world and the 5th largest producer of fish. 2016 marks the 2nd consecutive year that the World Economic Forum ranked Bangladesh first in gender equality amongst South Asian nations. The same year, adult literacy in the country rose to a 12-year high. Life expectancy in Bangladesh is currently at 71.5 years, while infant and maternal mortality have both been significantly reduced. Bangladesh has fulfilled all 3 criteria for graduation from LDC status this year and currently meets World Bank classification for middle income status. On the diplomatic front, it follows a policy of friendship to all and malice towards none. For 3 decades running, Bangladesh has been one of the biggest contributors to UN peacekeeping missions across the globe. From an agrarian economy in the 1970s, the Bangladeshi economy today is led by an export-oriented industrialization. The country is now the 2nd largest exporter of ready-made garments in the world. To keep up with the pace of the country's development, Bangladesh has embarked on constructing a number of mega infrastructural projects. Bangladesh's largest bridge, the Podda Bridge, is being built entirely with the country's own resources. It is projected to transform the lives of 30 million Bangladeshis through increased trade and connectivity. Bangladesh's first nuclear power plant in Rupur is set to power 2.4 million homes by 2024. To boost foreign and local investments in the ICT industry, the country is also setting up 12 high-tech IT parks in 12 separate districts, aiming to raise ICT export to $5 billion by 2021 and create 10 million jobs. Additionally, more than 100 special economic zones by 2030 seek to create a further 10 million jobs and churn out products and services worth $40 billion. In 2016, Bangladesh was the 2nd fastest growing major economy in the world. It was the 6th year that GDP growth was greater than 6% and the momentum continued with 7.28% growth in 2017. Bangladesh has been named one of the next 11 countries having a high potential to become among the world's largest economies in the 21st century. A land of fertile soil and fertile possibilities. Bangladesh's incredible growth and development is increasingly being acknowledged and lauded around the world, garnering praise from world leaders in many different forums.
বাংলাদেশ এগিয়ে যাচ্ছে, এগিয়ে যাবে। আগামী প্রজন্ম পাবে সমৃদ্ধশালী বাংলাদেশ।
Despite all that has been achieved, Bangladesh is not resting. Under the leadership of Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh has bold and ambitious plans to reach even greater heights. Guided by Bangabandhu's vision of a Sonar Bangla or Golden Bengal, the future is bright for this youthful and energetic nation reaching for the very stars.
So, am I audible now? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So sorry for the technical glitch we had in the beginning. Dear friends, let us come back to our discussion From our earlier discussion, we have seen that relationship between Bangladesh and India ought to be special. Our relations flourished after the independence of Bangladesh, and I have already mentioned that Bangabandhu and Prime Minister Indira Gandhi met 3 times during the first 3 months of 1972 in New Delhi, Kolkata, and Dhaka. During Indian Prime Minister visit to Dhaka in March 1972, the two leaders signed a treaty of friendship, cooperation, and peace to strengthen their bilateral relations. Bangabandhu visited India in May 1974. The two countries signed the historic agreement concerning the demarcation of land boundary, popularly known as Indira Mujib Land Boundary Agreement, during this visit, which Bangladesh ratified within 6 months through a constitutional amendment, the 3rd amendment of Bangladesh Constitution. Several high-level visits took place during the next 3 years. The heads of state of the two countries, President Abu Said Choudhury and President Bibi Giri, exchanged visits. During his visit to Dhaka, President Bibi Giri delivered a speech at a special session of Bangladesh Parliament in June 1974. The foreign ministers used to exchange visits regularly. Both the Indian foreign ministers of that period, Sharan Singh and Y.V. Chavan, visited Bangladesh. A number of agreements were signed during this time. The two countries signed bilateral trade agreement as early as March 1972, and a protocol on inland water transit and trade in November 1972. A number of agreements for cooperation in the areas of culture, telecommunication, peaceful use of atomic energy, postal services, and on a few other issues are also signed. But the unfortunate assassination of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in 1975 brought a change in relations with India. Though exchanges of high-level visits and routine official interactions continued, the warmth was lost, and most of the issues remained unresolved during the period 1975 to 1996. Though Bangladeshi leaders visited India, this period only saw an official visit of Prime Minister Morarji Desai in April 79, and 2 short visits of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 85 and Prime Minister Chandrasekhar in May 1991. And those were to express solidarity to people of Bangladesh following some natural disasters. The Awami League returned to power after 21 years in 1996 with Sheikh Hasina, daughter of Bangabandhu, as the new Prime Minister. The two governments tried to resolve several long-standing issues, and progress was made in the issues of water sharing and security. The Ganges Water Sharing Treaty was signed in December 1996. But again, after the change of government in next elections in 2001, there was a lull in relations for about 8 more years. However, with the formation of the new government in 2009, many bilateral mechanisms have been revived and the relations have taken a new shape. Over the last decade, many new areas of cooperation have opened for comprehensive partnership, covering almost all possible areas of mutual engagements. Despite the year 2020 being an unstable and difficult year, our high-level interactions have not stopped. The year witnessed a virtual inauguration of Mujib Borsho, in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended virtually as the guest of honor. We had a virtual summit between the two prime ministers last month, on 17th of December. A foreign minister level joint consultative commission took place virtually in September, and we are looking forward for foreign consultations later this month. As time may not permit us to discuss every aspect of this cooperation in details, let me focus on few major issues of our engagements during the last 10 years. Let us talk first about the trade and investment. Bangladesh has to import a variety of products, and India, for its proximity and availability of resources, is a natural choice for us. Import items range from food products like cereals, vegetables, consumer goods, to raw materials like cotton, cotton yarn, iron, organic chemicals, and also machineries and automobiles. Bangladesh mainly exports ready-made garments, apparel products, jute products, plastic items, fish, etc. to India. The quantum of bilateral trade is almost $10 billion, with Bangladesh exports to India contributing 1/10 of the total volume. India, however, allowed duty-free and quota-free access, but the exporters in Bangladesh frequently talk about non-tariff and para-tariff barriers that slow down or hamper entry of Bangladeshi products to India. We have to address the avoidable hindrances. The roadblocks have to be removed on both sides for mutual benefit. Bangladesh wants to see trade and investment to go together, where Indian investors can set up industries in Bangladesh, preferably with raw materials from India. Bangladesh has already earmarked 3 exclusive economic zones for Indian investors in different parts of the country. India is now planning to become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant in all sectors, with the vision and under the able leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Bangladesh can be a partner of a strong, stable, and vibrant Atmanirbhar India. India has offered 3 lines of credit to us. The first line of credit has almost been utilized, while implementation of projects under the second and third lines of credit are underway. Though the rate of utilization and disbursement is somewhat slow, it is a welcome initiative. A high-level monitoring committee has recently been formed to monitor the progress and expedite the implementation of the projects. They had a meeting last month. These credits are almost being used in the areas like roads, railways, bridges, inland waterways to restore connectivity. Provision may be made to utilize the funds for setting up large industries, modern infrastructure, and other employment-generating sectors. Let us talk about water. Bangladesh and India share 54 common rivers, and the issue of water sharing and management has been a sensitive and delicate issue, as it has a direct impact on the food production and quality of life of the people on both sides. Being a lower riparian country, Bangladesh is always in a vulnerable position if adequate water is not available in the lean season, or if there is an overflow in the monsoon causing flood and loss of crops. Sharing Ganges water at the Farakka barrage, located a few kilometers upstream from the international border, was amicably solved with signing of an agreement valid for 30 years in 1996. Bangladesh highly appreciates the goodwill shown by the Indian leadership in this regard. But sharing of water of another major river, Tista, remains unresolved. A draft agreement was finalized in 2011, but it could not be concluded due to some last-minute problems. The matter remains pending, and Bangladesh is eagerly looking forward to an early conclusion of the agreement. In the meantime, on India's request, Bangladesh has agreed to allow India to withdraw water from another common river, Feni, near Sabrum town in South Tripura. Water sharing is a very emotive issue in Bangladesh. It must be addressed on a top priority basis with care, compassion. We must overcome the challenges soon, as it often becomes an issue of domestic politics also. If we go to the energy cooperation, the rapid economic growth and industrial activities in Bangladesh resulted in growing energy requirements. To meet this increasing demand, Bangladesh has made remarkable progress in the power sector in last decade, which is an outcome of taking efficient measures domestically as well as regional cooperation, particularly from India. Cooperation in the energy sector is the hallmark of our renewed engagements. Currently, 2 grid connections have been developed, one in the west and the other in the east, and Bangladesh has the option to purchase about 1160 megawatt of electricity from India on market price basis. The 2 countries are jointly implementing a 1320 megawatt coal-based power plant, which we call Moitri Super Thermal Power Plant project in Rampal, in the southern part of the country. The joint venture project, which is going to be operational soon, itself is an emblem of our friendship with India. To boost the economy and create jobs, such joint ventures, investments, and friendship projects are always welcome. India is providing technical assistance for under construction Rupur nuclear power plant in Pabna that is being built by Russian technology and assistance. Few Indian conglomerates like Adani, Reliance groups have also concluded agreements for supply of electricity. Cooperation in sectors of power and energy is also taking shape for supply of high-speed diesel, natural gas, LPG, transboundary pipelines, etc. In this connection, we recall with great pleasure the humble support extended by Bangladesh to operationalize the 726 megawatt thermal power plant at Palatana in the state of Tripura, commissioned by ONGC Tripura Power Company Limited, one of the largest projects of the region. Bangladesh, as a modest contribution, allowed ONGC to take their over-dimensional equipment using its inland water routes and highways. This enabled the company to operationalize the plant in 2013, which remained pending for many years, as difficult terrain in the northeastern states prevented the movement of such large equipment like heavy turbines up to 300 metric tons to Tripura. The entire northeast of India is, as well as Bangladesh, is being benefited from this power plant now. The long-awaited development programs are now being implemented to uplift the economy and change the quality of lives of the people. The state of Tripura has become an exporter of energy now. The power plant is catering the need of a vast area of northeastern region. And this has created a cascading effect in the everyday lives of contributing to industrialization, infrastructure development, better education facilities, and economic stability in the society, both in Bangladesh and in India. We can move forward with similar bilateral and mutual cooperation in power sector to make our people self-reliant and prosperous, to realize the dream of Sonar Bangla, of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and also to contribute towards becoming Atmanirbhar as envisioned by the present government of India. In case of connectivity, which is a very crucial and a vital area of cooperation between our two countries, the very geographical location of a large landmass of India in the north and east of Bangladesh needs suitable communication from the mainland. It's a big challenge. Both time and expenses would become less if connectivity could be established through Bangladesh. Both the countries have taken steps to restore and operationalize all the pre-1965 railway links, which is about 6 in number, to boost trade and people-to-people contact with options to connect different regions. Building a bridge over the river Feni, connecting Sabroom with Chattogram port, and establishment of rail connectivity between Akhauda and Agartala may look like small steps, but those will be game changers that will directly connect Northeast Indian states. New ports of call and river routes have been included through signing of second addendum to the Protocol of Inland Water Transport and Trade. Trial run has taken place for movement of Indian goods from Kolkata to Agartala by Chattogram and operationalization of Sonagura Daudkandi protocol route. Following running passenger and good trains between two countries for some time, a container service has begun using rail routes. New inter-country bus routes have started between the cities to connect the northeastern Indian states with West Bengal. While these game-changing activities have started to establish new links and re-establish missing links, care should be taken to address the concerns of various stakeholders and financial and safety issues. Local traders and service providers may be involved in the process for a smooth operation. People of both the countries should be taken into confidence for sustainable outcome. In the areas of security, which has been a crucial area of cooperation between our two countries, has been consolidated in the recent years. India's northeast has experienced a lot of adverse situations, and often that continued for a long period of time, requiring deployment of specially trained manpower to tackle. The situation hampered development activities in the region, and the area was lagging behind the rest of the country. Peace and security became issues of concern. But since 2009, the government of Bangladesh has offered all-out support. It ensured that no evil element or group get any opportunity to use Bangladesh soil against India. And now those troubled areas are enjoying peace, security, political stability, economic development, and looking for prosperity. Our cooperation is based on our resolve not to tolerate terrorism and radicalism in any form. However, we have to be vigilant against all rogue elements on both sides of the border. Land boundary is an issue between Bangladesh, was an issue between Bangladesh and India, as we share more than 4,096 kilometers of border. And the demarcation was done, but remained as an unresolved issue since long. In 2015, the Bangladesh and India settled the border demarcation issues through exchange of instruments of ratification. The enclaves of India and Bangladesh in each other's countries were exchanged. These paved the way for settlement of long pending land boundary issues, including demarcated areas, territories under adverse possession, and benefited a large number of people living in the bordering areas of India and Bangladesh. The two countries have resolved another long-standing issue, the delimitation of maritime boundaries through UN arbitration. It has been proved that issues with neighbors can be resolved through mutual goodwill and a spirit of friendship. Border management, in case of the border guards of Bangladesh and Border Security Force of India manage and guard the international border. The Coordinated Border Management Plan, CBMP, which had started in 2011, has significantly improved the security climate in the area. The two countries have signed MOUs on prevention of human trafficking, smuggling, and drugs and narcotics, as well as for cooperation between coast guards to effectively meet any unconventional security threat. We have regular meetings in this regard. Border killing often becomes a topic of interest in media. Though this has been substantially reduced, it should be our common endeavor to bring it down to zero level as soon as possible. We have defense engagements also that include exchange of visits, staff talks, training exchange, joint exercises, port calls by naval ships, and similar activities. Annual defense dialogue held regularly to materialize the defense cooperation framework between the armed forces and defense sectors of the two countries. I'm happy to inform you that a 122-member tri-service Bangladesh Armed Forces contingent will participate in this year's Republic Day, and the contingent is already in Delhi and doing their rehearsals. Though not exactly a bilateral issue, but I'd like to note one thing, that is the Rohingya problem which we have been facing. And we're hosting now about 1.2 million forcibly displaced Rohingya refugees in our territory. The helpless Rohingyas faced worst forms of human rights violations. It has been termed as a humanitarian crisis of catastrophic proportion by UN Secretary General. The UN Human Rights Chief described the situation as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. We have extended all kinds of assistance to them. We have allocated 6,800 acres of forest land for sheltering them, incurring huge ecological hazard. The presence of large number of Rohingyas in the crowded camps is also a serious threat for health, peace, security, stability, and development for the region. Let me underscore here that we do not have any bilateral problems with Myanmar, and both the countries used to enjoy good relations, but the root of Rohingya problem lies elsewhere in Myanmar, and the solution has to be found there. We believe and expect that India, as a regional power and current UN Security Council member, will play a crucial role in persuading Myanmar for the early and secure return of Rohingyas to their home with peace and dignity. Last but not the least, the people-to-people contact between Bangladesh and India has increased manifold due to better connectivity and flexibility of visa regime, especially from Indian side. It has been observed that during the recent years, the highest number of foreign tourists to India was from Bangladesh. The official statistics showed that more than 2 million tourists, 1 in 5 foreign tourists, came to India from Bangladesh in 2019. They come for medical treatment, regular tourism, visit religious places, and also to meet the relatives. A good number of students are coming from Bangladesh to study in various disciplines in Indian institutions, where a large number of Indian students are studying in various medical colleges in Bangladesh. On the other hand, a considerable number of technically qualified Indian nationals are currently engaged in Bangladesh's businesses, industries, and service sectors, contributing to the economies of both the countries. I would like to stop here because almost I tried to cover most of the issues, but we can discuss other issues now. And in conclusion, I would say that Bangladesh is moving forward. The current leadership has proved that the right approach, strong will, and correct mindset, as I told earlier, that most difficult targets can be achieved. as Bangladesh is marching confidently to realize the dream of our father of the nation to transform Bangladesh into Sonar Bangla, Golden Bengal, free from all types of exploitation under the leadership of the present Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. We would like to have our brothers and friends from India with us in our journey. We hope that those days are not far away when we will again shake hands, hug each other, and be together physically to share our joys and celebrate our achievements. Bright days are definitely ahead of us. Thank you all. Long live Bangladesh India friendship and partnership. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, High Commissioner. We appreciate very much that the tour d'horizon that you gave us on India-Bangladesh relations from the very beginning in 1971 right up to 2021, and the fact that Prime Minister Mr. Modi has been invited to visit Bangladesh in March 2021 to celebrate the 50th year of Bangladesh's existence as an independent country. All of us enjoyed the talk very much, and there are some interesting questions that have arisen. So, High Commissioner, if you have some time, I'd just like to pose some of them. Okay. One interesting question which one of our viewers has asked relates to the issue of climate change. This is an issue which is, of course, important to all countries. But our viewer is aware that Bangladesh particularly is more vulnerable than many other countries to the issue of climate change. And the listener wanted to know how Bangladesh intends to combat natural disasters that might arise as a result of climate change. And to this, I would also add, are there any ways in which India and Bangladesh can collaborate in this issue, given that we are contiguous neighbors?
Thank you for this question. In fact, I did not touch anything about the climate. But first thing is that Bangladesh is a very disaster-prone country. They are very geographical location. You will see, if you look at the map, that Bay of Bengal is a funnel-shaped area. So anything that develops in Bay of Bengal, and if it moves towards, I'm talking about the cyclones, if it goes up, so it goes in a narrow area, and naturally there is a rise in seawater, and that inundates a large area. And you might have known the 1970 in November, the big cyclone which happened, and we lost about, I think, 1 million people at that time, immediately before, in fact, the election that held in December 1970. So at that time, we had no mechanism to save the people. Even the warning system was not good. But today, Bangladesh has the best warning system and disaster preparedness in the coastal areas of Bangladesh. We can move more than 10 million people in, I'll say, less than 24 hours notice. And normally when the cyclones are coming, you can get a time of 48 to 72 hours. So if you look at the last few, we cannot prevent the, these natural disasters, but if you can, if you look at the last few years, there was very less casualty. We could, move our people in time to, have no impact on the lives, properties that we cannot protect. But this is one, and this is also, as we have, continuous sea coast, sea lines. So it can be done together. We can have, more cooperation. I think we have cooperation on these areas, and especially for the flood, we have early information sharing. If something happens in the upstream, I'm talking about flood now. All the waters are coming from the north. We have very good mechanism of early sharing of information, so that if water level rises upstream, we immediately get information from India, and we can take some preparation. So, and we have other mechanisms also. I think Dr. Mishalkar told that we have 60+ mechanisms. I think we have almost 100 mechanisms to interact with India in different issues. So this area also is an area where you can interact and you can cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you, High Commissioner. High Commissioner, there are a couple of interesting questions on the commercial side of the relationship. As you know, Pune is an industrial center. It is one of the major parts of the Indian economy. A lot of industry is based out of Pune. And we have a large number of members who are also from the business community. One particular question was, one of our listeners wanted your advice on how to deal with IPR issues, intellectual property right issues that Indian companies might have in Bangladesh, in terms of what assistance the High Commission of Bangladesh in India or the Deputy High Commission of Bangladesh in Mumbai can provide. I know this is a specific question, but this is something which would be of interest to our viewers. Let me also pose the other question that also concerns this particular state. As you know, Maharashtra is a state which is a major exporter of onions, and some of these exports go to Bangladesh. We know that there is currently there has been some restriction on the export of onions out of India, and the viewer wanted to know whether the High Commission in New Delhi was taking any steps to engage with India in this regard. Since these are two issues which relate particularly to the state that Pune is located in, I had to pose these questions to you, High Commissioner.
In fact, regarding the first one, as you rightly mentioned, that if we know exactly what intellectual property rights the viewer was mentioning, so we can definitely look into it if there is an issue between the two countries, and we always, if there is a problem, we can also always solve it if we know it exactly. And our mission is both in Mumbai and Delhi is prepared to sort out any such issues. And regarding the other issue, it's very, again, I would say something important thing for us. But sometimes it happens. We know the domestic compulsions of the countries. India must have their own reason to restrict or stop for the time being. But for us, the only thing what we expect that if we get prior information about such moves, we can handle it in our own way. So that's the only thing. But it is every country has its own compulsions, own requirements, and they're free to take decisions. So we don't have any problem in that.
Thank you, High Commissioner. High Commissioner, moving on from from Bangladesh per se to the relationship that Bangladesh has with the rest of the world, there are two questions that our listeners wanted to know about. One was how Bangladesh views the SAARC, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, in a post-COVID context. The second question was that since you had mentioned Bangladesh as being the fulcrum state in the Bay of Bengal, in other words, as being at the head of the Bay of Bengal, given the fact that Bangladesh has an economy which is now one of the fastest growing in the world, how does Bangladesh intend to expand its economic relationship with the Bay of Bengal states? In other words, from Sri Lanka all the way down to Indonesia, the arc which is defined by the Bay of Bengal.
So you see, there's always, if there's a regional cooperation, there's nothing better than that. though we are talking about Atmanirbharata, Swanirbar, Bangladesh, we also talked about the self-reliance. But at the end of the day, you need also cooperation and assistance from your neighbors and the other regional friends. So in our case, SAARC, I think it's, during the COVID period, also Indian Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, proposed to form a SAARC fund, and in which both India and Bangladesh and other countries contributed according to their own resources. So that's a good thing. And for this other countries, the Bay of Bengal, the BIMSTEC, which is headquartered, which is in Bangladesh. And we always look forward to have regional cooperation, not only in the BIMSTEC region. We have BBIN, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal. So the regional cooperation, if we go, first we are talking about the bilateral, but if we go for regional cooperation, I think it will help the entire region. And if you have noticed recently during the our virtual meeting of the both prime ministers, Bangladesh also proposed or expressed her desire to join India, Myanmar, and Thailand in their the communication which is going to be established between these two countries. Right. So regional in case of regional cooperation, we always welcome it, and we look forward to have more cooperation from India and also our other neighbors.
Thank you, High Commissioner. We are running out of time, but there are still a couple of questions which you could briefly answer if you feel it appropriate. One question related to whether there was anything outstanding in bilateral issues from the pre-independence days. In other words, whether there are still issues lingering in India-Bangladesh relations which were there from 1947 rather than 1971. The second question was
I think we have it. Yeah, please.
The second question was if you looking going forward in the next 3 to 5 years, which are the key issues you would list as ought to becoming a priority for both countries?
First one, Kishilo. So I think we have, especially during the last 10 years, we have addressed most of the issues. We have solved our boundary issues, both land boundary and maritime boundary. We have addressed the security issues. The connectivity is going on in full speed. So I don't think we have too many outstanding issues between our two countries. And if we can identify some, we can always sit together with each other. But as I mentioned in few issues in trade and commerce, it's more option or there's more opportunity for Bangladesh to enter Indian market, which India can consider. Maybe it will be a little bit, special gesture from Indian side. If it is done, I think that will be good for our economy and the economy of both the countries. And during the next 3 years, what I will say that especially the connectivity thing is now under preparation. So we cannot, we know what is happening, but when it will start in full scale, it will be a different region altogether in 3 to 5 years. So we have to, ready for that also. And from this connectivity, I think that both the countries will have to be careful so that everyone gets benefit out of it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, High Commissioner. And once again, on behalf of the Pune International Center, I thank you for accepting our invitation and speaking to us. Before I give the last word to the President, Dr. Mashelkar, I just want to admire the way in which you presented the Bangladesh point of view in terms of not how India should look at Bengal, but how Bengal should look at India. I like the way in which you said that whether it is from the historical angle, the geopolitical angle, the political angle, or the economic angle, Bengal has played a critical role in India's history or the Indian subcontinent's history for thousands of years. And that is the connectivity between us, but it also establishes the identity of Bangladesh as somebody, as a country and as a people which have contributed to that process. So I think this is something which we should all think and reflect upon. I also wanted to note the point you made that while the relationship was very diverse and very deep, spanning all areas between connectivity and security, we still had to be sensitive to each other's concerns, and we needed to understand that there are still sensitive issues, and both sides need to work on these issues. But apart from that, a lot of other points that you made were worthy of deeper thinking. And I thank you very, very much again for accepting our invitation. Dr. Mashelkar, may I request you to just close the event with a few remarks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You have summed it up so well, Ambassador Gokhale. I don't want to add anything except to say that we can be perennial partners in progress, our two nations. There is no question about it. We are natural partners. Dr. Vijay Gokhale is here, our Vice President, and we deeply appreciate his closing remarks because they're always full of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mashelkar. When the two ambassadors are speaking, it's very difficult to match wisdom. So I would not add any wisdom, but I just want to mention that I was so deeply impressed by the progress Bangladesh has made, because I recall I was mentioning to Ambassador that 20 years ago I had the honor of being the representative of Bangladesh in the IMF. And it's amazing. It's always the great joy and pleasure to see Bangladesh's progress. And I hope that the Ambassador High Commissioner will continue to be visiting us, because this time it was no physical meeting, but we hope to see you in Pune. Welcome you again in one of our events specially designed for you. Thank you, Mr. High Commissioner.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful talk. It was a wonderful session.
Bye.